That's the very man. Okay, this is a video again for Niaz. Asked a question regarding this particular shape and how to go about actually creating it. I'm going to show it on a flat surface for one simple reason. You put it on a curved surface, it becomes more complex because of dealing with the fact that you've got additional geometry to start with. The principles will hold true for a curved surface. You're just going to have more work. Excuse me. And I would also say, first things, if you're doing this with booleans and HardOps or such like, I have never been able to manage to do this without some majorly cleanup, which I will be showing. One other thing, the more I look at this, the more I'm wondering how much of this is physical geometry and how much is actually decals. I don't know if anyone owns decal machine. This just looks like there's parallax going on rather than being hard geometry, especially this bit. Just, I don't know, it's just screaming decal at me for some reason. These could easily be decals. If these are decals, it actually makes the whole process a lot easier, because you basically just paste in little sort of band-aids onto them. Basically each one of these is basically a square with something mapped on it. If it's actual geometry, then yeah, that's where your cleanup comes in. So anyway, without further ado, let's crack on, and I shall add in first a plane. Now I'm going to be using HardOps, but every time I'm using HardOps, like I'll do Q, add modifier and solidify, you just as easily go over to the modifiers tab and choose solidify there. It's just HardOps allows you to do a couple of things like that manually. So I'm going to be doing this all non-destructively by and large using HardOps and box cutter. So go over to box cutter. I'm actually going to turn on the snapping for box cutter, and I shall choose circle. I'm going to make it 64 because I want it clean. Now if I then hold control down, I get a dot in the middle, and that allows me to constrain it exactly to the middle. I'm going to drag down X, which doesn't show up in screencast keys, interestingly, and click. Now I'm going to select that one, hold down control, going to drag out there, like that, and dum, and X again, and I'm going to shift click on this, because now what I want to do is actually, I think, let me just have a quick look. Yep. What I want to do now is impact the cutter, not the item. So I've actually got the cutter selected because I shift clicked it. That is still active. So again, hold down control so it's constrained to the middle, and I'm going to give a bit here. Say, going to go down, and I'm going to shift click again because now I want this to be active. I'm going to go into edit mode, go into top view, and I'm going to turn on ghost. I'm going to press the numpad 5 because I always prefer to work in orthographic mode. Alt A to deselect everything. Just going to B, and then I'm going to select, say, them. Actually, I think I am going to select them. Then I press 3, so I've now got my faces selected. E, return, and I am going to scale on the x-axis to drag those out, away, and come out of edit mode, and then turn off X-ray. And I'm just going to move that up GZ a tiny bit, then hide it. And there basically is the core shape. So I can now select this, say, and do that. And we can have the middle one go down. I'm going to X again to make that a slice. And then I'm just going to, in fact no, I won't put the bevel modifiers on there for now. Let's just keep this relatively as is. So there's your fundamental geometry. Now the tricky bit is when we start to add the holes in these. So you could start off the way I did it, because you want an array. So we can I'll probably get away actually with having 32 on now. I'm not going to hold control down anymore because I want to eyeball this in terms of rough size. Just going to plonk there. I'm going to shift click again to keep that thing, go into top view. Now I'm just going to move that around to roughly where I'm at. Now in order for this to work, first things first, I need the origin to the 3D cursor, so that if I rotate that, it rotates nicely. So then I'm going to duplicate that because I want several holes. So I'm just make sure I'm in object mode, Shift D, tab into edit, G along the X-axis, Shift D, tab into edit, G along the X-axis, and one more time, Shift D, tab into edit mode, G along the X-axis, and then back out. Now at the moment only that one item is booleaned into here, so select that, shift click, control minus, select that, I'll turn that off, shift click that, control minus, do the same here, select that, shift click, control minus. Right, so those are all. Now we want to put an array on these, so I am going to add an empty. I'm going to make it a sphere just simply because it's easier to see, and I'm going to alter the diameter of it to that, just so it roughly lines up. Then I'm going to Shift D that, empty 2, I'm going to increase that to there, Shift D that, make sure it's empty 2, I'm going to do the same, and one more time. Oh, Shift D. Right, so I'm going to select that, go into modifiers, add an array, remove relative offset, object offset, and I'm just going to select the first empty. Don't worry about all this first, I'm going to sort that out afterwards. Repeat the process, array, relative offset, object, empty 1, select that, array, not bump, empty 2, and the final one for empty 3. Add an array, and empty 3. Right, now as you can see with these, the rotation on all these is wrong, so I'm just going to shift select these, do Control A and apply rotation. Don't worry about that, that's because you've now got each item lying on top of each other. So let's select the first empty. I find it easier in the outliner, making sure you're in top view, just R, like that. We just get some movement going on them for now. Right, so that's just so you can see that they're all broken up. So first one, the first item, how many do you want going round here? So let's say we want 7. So we'll select the empty, just R, and then I'm just going to hold shift down, and I'm just going to position that roughly where I want. So the next empty, the next one rather, oh, let's say we want 10 on that one. Select empty 1, R, again holding shift just to get a nice rough line up. And okay, again we choose this, and we want 13, empty 2, R, hold shift like that, and then the final one, let's have 16 on that. And holding shift and just something like that. Now you could see those flickering as I was doing that, and that's because you're going to get issues. I'm only doing 1/2 with this. I'm actually going to just duplicate it. Or alternatively, what you could do is you could select, and I've never tried this before, but I'll just give it a go. And if I just choose mirror, choose the y-axis, yeah, so I could do this. Just add a mirror, choose the y-axis, same thing, mirror. All I'm doing there, by the way, is I'm just flicking this button just so it minimizes the modifier, so I can focus on the one modifier I want to play with. So there you go. So that's all now non-destructively if I turn off any overlays like that. Now the problem comes if you want to do any tidy up. If I would save this, let's do a quick save as. If I select the thing back on, if I select this piece of geometry and go in to edit mode, it's still a square. It's basically just still that. And every one of them is. So what happens if I apply these? So let's take that and let's push it down. So now we've just got the solidify. And as you can see, let me hide those empties. It's a bit of a mess in terms of not being very tidy. So you've got two options. You can apply it like this and then do a lot of manual tidying up, or what you can do is you can just do some, like that one we can apply. That's just now got the hole in. In fact, if we undo that, I would even go different with that. What I'd go in is I'd just right mouse button and subdivide it. Okay, sorry about that, the phone's just going. Right, if I go in now, you can see that there's a nice cut on that face, so even that's resolved better than it did before. So again, do the same. I'm just going to throw in a subdivide here. Oh, it did not like that. That should like it. Why did that not like subdivide? Oh, right, anyway. Oh, that's really interesting. I don't know what's going on there. So anyway, let's just, that's got multiple, of course, right. So let's bump going to select that one actually. I'm going to bump that one as well. And the reason I'm going to do that one is I'm going to do 3. I'm going to inset it. And now, no, I'm not going to inset it. I need to apply the solidify on this because I want to do some work on it, which means I need to be able to go down into its depth. So do that like that, drag it down, insert it. Actually, then I'm going to scale Shift Z. I'm going to pull that in a bit because I want angles. Okay, scale that in. E for extrude. Scale that. Actually, GZ down. Take that a little further. I'm going to inset that. GZ. And I control bevel that. Here we go. Right, so let's just put more detail on that. So that's still a plane. This, what we want to do is we want to judiciously apply some of the booleans. So these is cut to 4. So that is cut to 4. So cut to 4, cut to 5, cut to 6. Cut to 7 we do not want to apply on this mesh. Instead, all we want to apply is cutter and cutter 1. So we apply that and apply the cutter 1. So we've still got these. And the reason for this is we're going to work on the geometry. So right now we've just got a face. So I'm going to do Control T to triple everything. Then I'm going to do Alt J, which tries to quads. And then I'm going to go into edge mode, and I'm just going to grab a couple of these edges here. And I'm going to go Control X to remove them, but uncheck dissolve vertices. And you notice that there, if I dissolve vertex, that line goes away, and I don't want that. I want that point to exist. I just don't want the edge. So now we take a look. I can see some places where we're going to have issues. What I'll do here is I'm going to hide these here. I'm going to hide those faces, and I'm going to do a Control R. 1, 3, 4, bump, and do the same here. Control R and 4, bump. Alt select that, GG, I'm going to pull that up roughly into the middle. Alt select that, GG, pull it roughly down into the middle. So don't worry about these edges, I'm going to fix them afterwards. So right, unhide everything, and I'm just going to pull this in a little, pull that in, and what we're going to do now is basically tweak the edges, looking for places where there's a likely issue in terms of overlap, and where you would see it is places like there. If I come out now, you can see like that one hasn't formed, so I can GG, move that out, and this is just something you have to do if you want this level of control. So GG, you're just looking where there's close contact, because as soon as you apply a bevel in that situation, you are going to get strange artifacts going on. And all I'm doing is clicking a vertex, pressing GG, pulling it in or moving it out. I just do the same down here. let's hide that vertex slide and let's get rid of them. Just pull that to give you a bit more room to play with. So go along each one first. GG, GG, click GG, drag, click GG, drag. That's all it is. Click GG, click GG. It's mundane stuff, but like I say, it's sometimes it can't be avoided. And you're doing all this before you actually apply the booleans. That one go over there. Are we happy with that? Right, I'm going to alt click that and just GG that whole edge line. Move that down roughly. Go back to point mode. And just, again, I'm looking for close contact. There's nothing to this but what I call donkey work. There's just, that's the way it is. Right, so I can save that before I do this. Now if I apply that now and go into the edit mode, you can see that you've got much tidier geometry. Everything links up to everything, which it tends to like. And so in theory now, if I put a bevel modifier on that, and I make it on an angle, and we'll give it, I don't know, 3mm for now. Harden the normals. And let's slowly increase that. Oh, there, I'll take the clamp overlap off. It's messing up matters. So there we go. Now you see you're getting some artifact in here. And the reason for that is we're going to have 2 points being very close together. So I'm going to select everything. I'm going to merge by distance. And then I'm going to change that merge by distance to 200 UM. 0.1mm, 0.3mm, 1mm. You see now even here we've got issues. So what I'll do is select them two and go merge at last. And even there we're getting an issue because of the line here. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to select those two, press J. I'm going to select that and do Control X. Make sure to turn off the dissolve vertices. And I'll do something simple here. Select that one, J, 2, Control X, turn off the vertices. Right. Because it's all about the lines between them. If the line gets, like here, gets too sharp or too close. So I select that one and I'll just GG. I can pull that away. And you see immediately with that one, I select those two, merge at last. I select those two and merge at last. And it's showing you two here because the solidify is still active. If I take that off, you're just looking at that. So again there I would probably just merge them, merge at last. Do that. And Shift R, which will perform the last action, which I know to be merge at last. So you just tidying up all the time. Right, how does that look? Have we got any more places where it's a bit messy? Not on that off. See, on this half we've got the same issue. Select that one, GG, pull it away, and there you go, it's fixed. And here again, I will probably take those two, join, to Control X, turn off that, and just join those up, merge last. Can you see there it's fine because that dot is equidistant between them, you're not getting any artifact in. And I'm afraid this is just, it's mind numbing stuff, but it's the way you do it. Now even though that's equidistant, because of the angle of that, it's a problem. However, if I start to pull that out, you see it goes away. Now in this instance, because of the join, you can't pull it out, so I'll just select those two, join them, Control X. I do wish there was a way of Blender remembering what you last did with that instead of defaulting to that each time. If you know that there is, answers on a postcard. So same here, GG, pull it away. Is that everybody? Is everybody else happy? I think everybody else is happy. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's all super fine. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pull that in and make it a smaller mesh. And I'm just going to throw a bevel on these. I say this is just the same as going into your modifiers and adding a bevel on an angle. It's no different. Like that. And what I'm going to do with this one, actually, is I'm going to go in here, and I'm actually going to add sharpen to this. So I'm going to go in, deselect everything, select sharp edges. And I'm just going to mark them sharp. Then I'm going to take these two edges here and N, and I'm going to set the mean bevel weight to 0.25. Then I'm going to select these ring of faces by alt clicking. I, so it's individual. Hold Control, and that allows me to push the face out as well as in. I'm going to click plus. I'm going to mark those, but I'm going to set the bevel weight to 0.25. Come out, and then I'm going to change that from angle to weight, and then I can just play with that, and that gives me that effect. If I turn that off, and let's give it a quick surface, new base color, down to the metallic, yes, roughness down to about 0.29, select that, select that, select that, select that, select that, Control L, materials, dump, there we go. Now hide that. And again, these bevels are going to need hardened normals on them, which I forgot to do, but never mind. Dump, there we go. And there's your object. You want to put the other thing in, that's fine. You can just select this, we'll make it a square, and we're just gonna, oh, we don't want that one, escape, and we'll go back to solid view because it's quicker. Take it down, X, B, shift click again. So the cutter's active. And then I'm going to shift click that, do an Alt X and mirror modify that cutter. I can now hide the cutters. So there we go. And if I want, I can. So that boolean is still active, but there we are. So that slice, what we can do is let's call that material 1. Let's take that down and make it a bit shinier. Do that one, and we'll do the same. We'll have material 1 for that. And we'll have material 1 for that. There we go. In fact, let's have another material for that, and let's make it more blue. There we go. There's your objects. As I say, if you want it curved, then you've just got more work ahead of you, but all the same principles apply. Now, as I said, a lot of that you could fake with decals. So, for example, if I think I've got an example of this. If we just save this, let me just open up. That's another matter. Yeah, here's an example where all of these they're actually not geometry. If I go into edit mode, you can see they're all just decals. They're literally just image mapped planes. But like that, it looks like it's got a lot of details on. So if you had a decal that looked like a hole, you could get that sort of effect. So, but the same principle of building the loops up would apply. You apply it to a little square instead. You'd apply it to that. And as you can see, I've got that. That's a mirror. I think I manually moved them. I manually copied and pasted them. But you could do it with an array. But again, once you've got that on curved geometry, then there's a bit more work involved. But that's that anyway. Hope it was of use.